Three, two, one,
Zero.
zero, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
TTMTrades, welcome back, man. Today, we're gonna be talking about the S&P 500, man, SPY index, and we're talking about some of the past plays we called over the past couple weeks. But before we jump right into it, man, we up to 1,250 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and then on the stock Twitter, we're up to 2,900 followers, man. So I deeply appreciate every single one of you hitting that subscribe button, man, and joining me on my stock Twitter account and checking out my post and messaging me, man. So I really appreciate all the love from each and every last one of you. So just a couple quick plays, man, that we caught here recently. Let me switch back over to my ideas. So, man, one of my biggest plays I caught this year, man, was took a CRMD, man, for a 931% gain. I myself, I didn't get a total of a 931% gain. I didn't ride that wave up down. So I don't want to mislead you and make you think I got a 931% gain. But we did alert this back on April 29th, man. Back when it was at 22 cents, and it ran all the way up to 227, man, for about a 930% gain. But we've been on top of that one since, man, April. And a couple more recent ones here. TVIX, man, again, we alerted this one back on October 5th. I said, quote your boy this day, October 5th, 2018. TVIX is the move in the coming weeks, and no sooner than no more than a week later, man, 73% swing on that TVIX plan. We're gonna also talk about that one along with the S&P 500 because it goes hand in hand with the S&P 500. We're gonna talk about how we can make money on both ends. And then took a SLS, which we alerted, man, back on October 15th, 2 days ago. Pretty much was looking at some charts real quick when it came across this one. I said SLS buy signal just for a quick alert back on the 15th at 10:41 a.m. And that one was a 41% gain right there within 2 days. So some pretty big runners these past couple weeks, man, give or take. And right now the stock market overall, as far as the major indexes, S&P, NASDAQ, all of that, man, it is kind of choppy. So I would be careful if you're definitely making swing trades, whether it's penny stocks, nano caps, or whatever the case may be. Just be careful because the overall market is kind of shaky right now. So this is the S&P 500 on a day-to-day basis, daily chart right here. So you can see we had some pretty nice momentum as it was moving, making that upward push. As you can see, remember I always tell you, anytime a stock is below the bottom two Bollinger Bands, because again, I use two sets of Bollinger Bands, one with a 1 standard deviation, as you can see here, the green lines, and one with a 2 standard deviation, the outside lines. And I use a 30-period moving average instead of a 20-period moving average, just to try to, capture more of the volatility within the stock itself. But anytime a stock is in a nice firm uptrend, it will constantly push into that upper band, constantly making the envelope adjust the bands with the volatility of the stock as it pushes up. Anytime it pulls back, it'll hold above that 30 and or that bottom 1 standard deviation, as you can see here. So again, it's making these higher highs as it pulled back and held above that 1 standard deviation, again making higher highs on each push. And then finally you get this crazy drop in price. All right, now, like I said, we said back on October 5th, man, this one was looking a little suspicious. So this is why we alerted back on October 5th, that TVIX would be the play in the coming weeks. And the reason why this one began to look a little suspicious is multiple things I want to point out. Now, again, I use the PMO, which is a price momentum oscillator. And I got a couple other oscillators that I use. I have pretty much the on balance volume right here, and then I have 3 momentum indicators that I use, which is the RSI one, which is a little more fast reacting, my Copic curve, which is a little bit slower, right behind the RSI, than my PMO, which is definitely a lot slower. So I look for them to move in sync and or complement one another. And I was just kind of looking at this plan as I began to notice was the PMO was beginning to fall below a 75 period moving average, as you can see, which is this green line here. Now, anytime with the PMO, it is holding above its 20 period moving average, then that shows, which is this yellow line here, it shows some short-term momentum within the stock itself, all right, as it holds above the 20 period moving average. But once it normally makes a break above that 75 period moving average, then that shows a lot of great momentum, and each pullback is a playable pullback depending on where you make your entry, and you can continue to ride it. Now, anytime the PMO is beginning to sit on top of that 75 period moving average and it looks like it's having issues breaking above that 20, then that's when we want to start to get nervous. So as you can see, the PMO begin to fall below that 20 period moving average, that yellow line, and it kind of broke below that 75 period moving average here, which was an alert. And then again, as you can see here, as I copy curve, but again, to try to push back above its average, it began to get rejected. And then even with the RSIs we talk about all the time, which is honestly, man, for those who master the RSI, that would probably be the only indicator you would ever need, because it is such an all-telling indicator. So again, like I always tell all my followers, anytime you have a stock that is in a bullish, has bullish momentum, it will hold above that 40 and 50 line on the RSI. So as you can see here, that's 40, and then right midway is 50. So as this as the S&P 500 back in April began to pick up some momentum, it broke above that 10 period moving average, and then it began to hold above that 40 and 50 period moving average on each pullback. So as you can see here, the stock made a high here at that 268 down here. As you can see, and then as it began to pull back, it held above right in that 40 to 50 zone, and then again pushed higher to make another higher high at 271 on the pullback, held above that 50, higher high 276, and then even on the pullback here, it dipped just below the 40, but it held in that general area, and then again began to make another run and was holding strong above that 40 to 50 area the entire time. Now, as I began to see a pullback here within that 40 area back on October 5th, and we began noticing, for one, the amount of volume on these two candles as they begin to pull back, that was telling, showing that there was a lot of selling, above average selling. Looking at that volume, number two, the on balance volume was way below its averages, and it also created a lower low. As you can see here, that was the low of the unbalanced volume, and then it broke that low. So it was all telling, showing that there was some possible sell-off beginning to happen with the S&P 500. Now, moving forward, what do I think the S&P 500 is going to do? Now, it is in between those bottom two Bollinger Bands. There may be a quick, slight recovery where the current resistance is sitting right here at 281, that one standard deviation Bollinger Band, and then the middle Bollinger Band right at 286, which is that 30-period moving average. Now, I believe at best case scenario, it could possibly try to push back up into that high right here where 292 is at and get rejected, and then begin to continue this downtrend, and or it can push up into that 286 and get rejected and continue its downtrend. Now, let's look big picture on the weekly and see what is going on with the S&P 500. Now, as you can see here in the past with the S&P 500, and again, we'll go back and we'll mark that 40 and 50 area on the RSI again, because even on a weekly scale, no matter what scale you're on, it'll show you if a stock is in a bullish trend if it holds above that 40 and 50 area on the RSI. So again, even here, it dipped below that 40 area, which the stock dipped hard back down here, and then as it began to make that bullish run back in early 2016, when it had that low all the way to 171, when it began to make this bullish run up to 293, if you pay attention the entire time, it held above that 40 and 50 average. So again here, on each pullback, it held above those averages, and then even now, as you can see here, it was holding strong in the upper part of the RSI. Now as it began to dip back, it tried to make that run again to make a higher high, and then it failed and got rejected and broke below its two averages. So now we're sitting back in that 40 to 50 area again when it comes to RSI. Now, on the past pullbacks, it did hold above that one standard deviation Bollinger Band, and it kind of held And just above that 30-period moving average, which is that bottom, not that bottom, but the middle Bollinger Band. So as you can see here, again, last week when it dipped below that middle Bollinger Band, the 30-period moving average, immediately you could see there was some buying to pull it right back above that 30-period moving average. And now going into this week, you can see there's some buying and possibly some consolidation right on that middle Bollinger Band. Now again, there's a lot of weakness being shown. There's not a high spurt in volume to show that there's a lot of buying interest in that general price range. So that could possibly be a consolidation period on low volume, and then possibly for this one to continue on the downtrend. Now, one thing to keep in mind, some positives, we are still holding above that 40 to 50 range on the RSI on a weekly time scale. Remember, we're looking bigger picture now. If that 40 to 50 area begins to fail, then that would show that we're probably going to begin an active downtrend on the S&P 500. Now, a couple things that concern me, which has me to believe that we may be possibly having some more bleed out of the S&P 500 and for this one to possibly pull back, is one, our copper curve, as you can see, has begun to already cross and begin to trend down. And then as you can see, that was the last high. And this high is way higher than this high, so it did not create a higher high for one. So there's a possibility that this one could begin to pull back and create a lower low, which will reflect the current downtrend that's possibly about to happen here. And then even on your copper curve, remember I told you when it holds above that 20-period moving average, that shows some short-term momentum. But again, when it's above that 75 period moving average, which is the green line, that is, the stock is in a very bullish state. Now, one thing to pay attention to is it has fallen below that 20 period, and then even though it crossed above that 20 period to try to regain some long-term momentum, it got rejected right at that 75, and now it's beginning to cross back over. So these are all signs showing that the momentum, the S&P 500 is beginning to lose momentum to continue this bullish uptrend it has been on since early 2016 January. I mean, literally from early 2016 January, going into the end of 2018 into 19, the stock has ran, not the stock, but this index has ran strong for the past 3 years, and now we can possibly be seeing some short-term or even medium to long-term corrections happening here. So if I am invested in the S&P 500, which my retirement account that I have through the military has been invested in the S&P 500 this entire time since 2016. But as I have done here recently, I've pulled my money out of the S&P 500 as far as my retirement account, and I have switched it over to bonds, something a little more safer, while the market is beginning to go into a period of volatility and probably some medium to long-term correction due to the very bullish run the S&P 500 has had here recently. So again, we want to keep an eye on the RSI. Again, like I said, it's sitting in that 40 to 50 zone. We want to see if we can get a nice bounce out of this area and break back above our 10 to 30 period moving average averages, as you can see here on the RSI. If we begin to push up and we get rejected by one of our moving averages, then that is a telling sign that the momentum is no longer there and the buying power is no longer there to continue to push the S&P 500 up, to continue this bullish wave it's been having the past 3 years. And we're already getting some indications here with a lower high, with the copper curve already turning down to possibly create a lower low, lower than that one, and then our PMO getting rejected by its bullish moving average, long-term bullish moving average of 75, currently getting rejected in the beginning to turn back down. So that goes back to me calling again TVIX back on October 5th, saying I would keep an eye on this one. TVIX is the move in the coming weeks. So, I mean, even though we already had that 73% gain on TVIX within a week already, I believe there's more that we could possibly make off of TVIX due to the volatility, upcoming volatility within the S&P 500 overall. Now, TVIX is a direct reflection of the S&P. As you can see here, the CBOE volatility index known by its ticker symbol VIX, is a popular measure of the stock market's expectation of the volatility implied by the S&P 500 index options. Okay, so we'll continue to keep an eye on the VIX, TVIX. They all reflect the major indexes such as the S&P and the NASDAQ. But any type of major volatility or uncertainty in the overall markets, as far as the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, will cause the VIX and or TVIX, whichever one you're playing, to spike. So as the major indexes are falling, then all your volatility indexes, the VIX, the TVIX, whichever ones you like playing, will begin to spike and reflect that. These are also known as the fair index. So continue to watch for that volatility and uncertainty in the major indexes long term, and I would probably swing trade VIX and make some in and out plays as there's uncertainty beginning to build in the overall market. So again, man, TTMTrades. I have my own private premium chat room that StockTwits will be launching here sometime soon in the upcoming year 2019. So go ahead, man, join that waiting list, find my room, hit that join the waiting list, and that way soon they activate these rooms, man. I got a lot of private members I can share my knowledge with and my picks with. Again, man, TTMTrades up to 1,250 subscribers on YouTube. I deeply appreciate every single one of you. 2,900 followers on the StockTwits account. Again, protect those accounts. Trade safe. Till next time, I'm out.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.